All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another masterclass, Wednesday night masterclass with the membership community. So thank you for those watching live and participating, and of course, those that are catching the replay. So whether you are catching it here in September, or maybe weeks from now, or months from now, this information I'm going to share today will be certainly on point and valid for some time to come. We are talking all about I'm going to debunk some of the myths that people have when they think about, can I really start a cookie business? Can it be a thriving business? Can it be sustainable? So I'm going to bust some of those myths. There's 10 of them. I know that sounds like a lot, but I think we're all pretty efficient here. So we'll go through those, but hoping that this, as always, will be conversational. So I definitely encourage you to participate, ask your questions. If you want to share personal experience, wonderment, very much, please do so. So thank you again. And I think we should get started right away because I do have quite a bit of information to share. As you all know, I do my best to stay on track. I have what I call the parking lot. So if topics or conversation kind of starts to veer in a different direction, I will make note of it. And then that could potentially be a future masterclass. So I'm always open to your suggestions. But again, tonight is all about debunking those myths. I have 10 of them, and you may have some too. So I'd be really curious to hear. Maybe I'll just throw that out there to start. Does anyone have a myth, something that they believed was true about the cookie business, but then after you're now in it, you're like, I bust that myth, no problem, no pressure. And you may not have one now, so don't feel the pressure, but I encourage you to think as we're talking through these 10 that I identified. Let me know if there's others, because I'm sure there are others, but we're gonna bust them all right now. All right. So number one, and these are in no particular order, okay? These are just things that kind of came to my mind, and but I would also be interested in hearing a little bit of your take on it. So number one is limited customer base. So some people believe that there is such a small area, like just a small group of people, that the custom decorated cookies are good for, which is really easy to bust because we all know, and I know in a recent conversation we had, the reasons of why people would choose to purchase and share our custom cookies is really endless. And I know last time I rattled off, and just in case you did not participate in that particular masterclass, I think I was talking about corporate logo cookies and the uses of logo cookies. But I'm going to rattle off very quickly because there is a very broad market, a very broad. So don't feel like, maybe you're struggling right now trying to get some local business, or you're just getting started and you're feeling like nobody's out there, nobody wants to buy my cookies. Be patient, they will come. But just to kind of plant the seed and the idea of where people use cookies. So again, I'm going to rattle these off very quickly, but corporate meetings and events, product launches, trade shows, expos, client gifts, employee recognition, employee onboarding, promotional campaigns, brand launches and rebranding, customer appreciation, in-store displays, fundraising, leadership events, social media campaigns. Oh my gosh, I'm only halfway there. Partnership collaborations, seasonal promotions, weddings, celebrations, interactive marketing, school and college events, which is a big one, sustainability initiatives, birthdays, anniversaries, and another one, kind of a hidden treasure, is post-service appreciation for companies. So whether it's a manufacturing or a service-based business, they're always looking for things to do to send their appreciation to people. And maybe it's a referral program or a survey program. So, I mean, you could literally take one of those areas and that could be your thing, really. So the possibilities are endless. So I'm going to debunk that there is a limited customer base right out of the gate. So would you guys agree with me?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. COVID took me for a loop-de-loop, and I feel that most of my customers, they were not corporate. They have not returned.
Oh,
And I was pretty busy. I was
okay.
pretty busy. But now I'm finding maybe I'm not, they're not for me.
Could be. Yeah. Have you reached out to them? Have you, circled back with them to maybe?
No, I haven't,
Mhm.
because one of the ones I think of is a beautician. So, you know, they have wonky hours, like
Hmm.
or I have run into her and I need to order some more, but then I never hear back.
Hmm. Yeah, I would definitely circle around and, no is no. No is never no until it's a true no, if that makes any sense. But never feel bad about, circling back and checking in with them. And,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe ask them, because it's easy to forget. People get busy. I know we've talked about this before. So don't ever feel bad about checking in with people, because I
Okay.
appreciate that with like my dental office and with my hair salon. And, you get busy and you forget. And so that might be the case of, you think the reason that they're not ordering for you is one thing, but it might be something else completely. It may have nothing to
Okay.
do with you. So yeah,
Okay.
I would definitely circle back. And then if they don't have a really, if they don't have a need at this point, that's a great time to ask them, well, hey, do you know of anybody else, either within your company, or maybe you have a colleague at another company, a partner, a vendor, you never know. You never know.
Okay.
Ask. So just a thought.
And I think COVID, with the prices going up as much as they did, I think a lot of people are afraid of how high I may have gone.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I still think that there's business out there. So like you just said a moment ago, they may not be your ideal client, or they may not be your client at this point. Then, think about reaching out to different clients or in a different
Okay.
way. So
Okay.
it's just something to think about. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that.
I can
Okay.
just add to that.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of feel the same way, Levita. I feel like with the market changing, that I'm not seeing the same clients. However, I also think that for me, the way I'm looking at it is, since everything's changed in the market, I cannot offer the same things for the same prices and the exact same
Right.
way I did business before then. So it's kind of, in a way, I'm trying to pivot. What can I do differently that I still want to do? I still have a passion for, but that I can find the client base for. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
That was well put, and that's kind of the way I feel,
Yeah.
Tisha.
No, thank you.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it really is thinking a little differently. And I mean, I can speak too from experience that pre or post COVID, we lost all like 6, 7 weeks straight. Everything was gone. And, I've said it before, it was probably one of the better things that happened for us, because we were really running ourselves pretty thin, and we were working much harder than we had to, meaning that I was doing everything. I was, or I would say we were doing everything in terms of not having a lot of boundaries with the offerings that we had. So we're offering too many things. And I've said it before, but when you narrow down, it's amazing how it's going to get easier, going to be more efficient. It's not going to cost as much. It keeps your costs down. And then you can really zone in to, okay, I've got this one offering, I've got these 3 offerings. Maybe it's the same offering, but it's just packaged differently. Who's going to want that? Who's that solution for? And then you just,
Okay.
double down on just targeting that group of people. So, and that's what I've done with my business, really over the last 5 years. Every year we more and more and more niche down to, we're going to be in about a year, we're going to be exclusive corporate. I'm still doing personal orders and celebrations here and there. My goal in the next year or 2 is to do no more of that. I would hope that I would be able to, share that. As I mentioned, one of my team members is now making cookies, and her love and passion is the personal celebration. So how wonderful it is that now I can say, okay, here you go, but this is where this is my lane. I'm going to stay in that lane. And the more that I do that, again, for the business, and it's hard because you have to separate that hobby hat from your business hat. You're going to miss some of those things that you did as a hobbyist and even as a side gig. But when you want to, if you do want to make this your livelihood and make profit, you are going to have to let go of some of the things that you really, really like doing to some things that are going to be a little more simple. They're going to feel simple to you, but believe me, your clients are still going to be wowed by them. You know what I mean? So, and I'll talk on that point in one of our Mythbusters here, but yeah, so hang in there with me. You guys will, don't worry. Because like I said, it's like a light switch. As soon as it clicks, it clicks. So for the second one, it has something to do with seasonal business. So again, as we're talking about maybe the struggles of getting leads and getting repeat customers, I think one of the myths is that it's assumed that cookie decorating is a seasonal business, like it's only popular during the holiday season. And again, I really do want to just blow this one out. I think that it takes work, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, but it also takes a plan, knowing that, okay, during the holiday season, yeah, I think people are, there's probably not enough cookie decorators out there, because I know that many people end up turning some business away during the peak holiday season. But for it not to be a seasonal business, it's really your call first. Do you want to be busy year round? Maybe you just want to do the holidays. That's the first thing you kind of need to think about. Maybe you want it to be, just 2 months on, 1 month off, 2 months on, 1 month off. And that's the beauty of, running your own business, that you can make those decisions. But I think that there are really like 4 things that I believe, if you want it to be not just a seasonal opportunities, is it really, a lot of it comes down to your customer experience. Because if you are taking care of your customer, if you're listening to them, if you're making offers, that's the thing, is you constantly have to make offers. It's very easy to be forgotten, very easy to be forgotten. And, right now I'm investing in, and I'm not really sure that I'm getting a ton of leads from LinkedIn, but I'm investing in a social media assistant 5 hours a week, which is an investment. But here's the thing, I may not be getting new leads, but I'm staying top of mind with my existing clients. So I know I've talked about that before. So to me, that is a value, and that's an investment that's helping me keep top of mind. Another thing is just with, it's really interesting when I see about the seasonal trends. I think a way to kind of blow this myth out of the water is to not conform. I think I've talked about this before, but it's amazing how I'm in a bunch of cookie groups and I see the same designs, like from group to group to group, on like the Halloween or like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And people scratch their head and they wonder, it's like, well, why is nobody ordering? You've got to do something different. So I would, in the sense of, if you are going to do those holidays, those seasonal designs, do something different. Again, you can do those, do what everybody else is doing for your hobby, but maybe not for your business. So just something to think about. And then, diversifying your products is, I think, another area of opportunity. I can speak on this right now and I'm actually kind of relieved, because we're just starting to come off trade show season. There's a couple more for October. I think there's one early November, and then the conventions and trade shows kind of take a break December and January, just because it's heavy holiday season. But for us, what's happening is those are tapering down briefly, but then our virtual experiences are now picking up. So I strategically changed my messaging and changed my plan of who I'm reaching out to throughout the year by the season. So right now I'm doing a big push on virtual experiences because I'm anticipating some of those other needs to taper off. So there's not going to be a lull in the business. So you kind of have to like almost etch out a calendar for the year. Does that resonate with anybody there on those couple things?
Yeah, I like that. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing is the calendar part of it. I'm not good at it yet, and I'm not good with the follow through yet. That's where I lack, but I enjoy that part of it. I just have to kind of figure out a way to get ahead of it instead of reacting to everything. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of slow right now too. So I spent the day like working on my website. I want to, and working on Halloween pre-sales, which I've only tried it once before, which and didn't go that well. So, but I have the time now. So while it's slow, it's, I have some Halloween things ready to go, which I kind of like because it's time to prepare and a little bit of expense to prepare. But if it doesn't go anywhere, I'm not out a lot of money. I'm not out a lot of time. It was, I just chalk it up to experience and try to figure out what I could have done differently. And if it does do well, then I'll be busy and I'll know exactly what I need to do. So,
Right.
And my website needed some attention, but I watched a really good tutorial and, got that in a better place today too.
Mm-hmm. Great. Oh, and thank you for your recent post. I appreciated that. I think that was helpful to a number of the community members. So I think that messaging that you're curating right now, I think is going to do really well as you were going towards some of the custom logo cookies. So
yeah, I think it's a good strategy. You mentioned it before. It's like, I like customs, but to kind of increase your profit line and maybe your return customers to get into that market and get known for that as well. So that's one reason before I put the post out there that you so graciously cleaned up for me. I mean, it was just so professional, like professional copywriting. So I want to get the website good before I put that out there and put a link to it. So there would, like you said, there would be no questions, that make it easy, make it just click on one, go here, do this, and I'll contact you later.
Yeah.
Why I did that
for those that maybe are watching the replay, I'm just referring within the Facebook community in a recent post that Sue had. I think it would be helpful for folks to see. Of course, make it your own. I'm not a fan of copy pasting necessarily, but and it's, and here's the thing: as we talk about the next one that I'm going to talk about is too much competition. So maybe we can go into that in a moment here. But I'm not really worried about some of us using similar language because we're all in different markets, honestly. Mm-hmm. And those are also recognizable words, keywords, things that people are searching. So, you don't want to get fancy. You don't want to get too creative. You don't want to get too whimsical, if you will, with your language. It needs to be all of what your clients are going to be searching. So if you noticed some of the language that I use, those are words that they're going to be typing in the computer when they're looking for you. So that's really key. And if you have that on your website, that's just going to increase your ranking with Google. So, and it is a good strategy, if not on a monthly, at least a quarterly basis, you must go into your website, whether it's a free platform or paid, get that website up to date, change something around, because that will get recognized too, that it is an active and up-to-date site. So, but yeah, so those are all really good things to work on, definitely. And just make sure that, some of your tasks that you're working on actually do move your business forward with terms of your connecting with potential clients. So, take some time with that website, take some time working in your operational, but then take a little bit of time and do some reach out to whatever format that would be in. So, oh, and one more thing on the seasonal business, I mentioned 4. So it was customer experience, innovation, diversifying your product line. The final one was collaboration and partnership. So that is another great way and I do have an example for this one is, when you are a little slower or when you see a little bit of a gap, and I think there was a lost opportunity for us this year, had I realized, and I should have realized that July is kind of there's like 2 weeks in July that are pretty quiet here. It's kind of our vacation time, but just with order wise, it's pretty quiet. And I've seen a trend with that. And Ronald McDonald House, one of the organizations that I, and actually 100% in-kind sponsor for and supporter, they have an annual golf outing that I donate cookies to every year. And I have never participated. Well, this last year when they came to pick up the cookies, they had said, "Oh, do you ever want to golf?" And I was like, and I had like no work to do for the next 2 days. And my point here is I could have golfed. So next year I have it on my calendar, because what a great opportunity to actually be at the event that I'm supporting and sponsoring as a participant. So I'm either going, and then can you imagine all the people that I would meet there? Because these are all donors going to this event. So, I'm already planning for next year. So when you have those lulls, think about, okay, where can I go? Who can I talk to? Who can I meet? What event can I go to? Those are great investments and good use of your time when you're not having to be in the bakery working on those orders. So something to think about. So yeah, so next July we'll be golfing. I know here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get a big order, but that's okay because I got my team. So they're going to hold the forces here. So, okay. So the next one, too much competition. Oh my word. I love this one because that's not possible. Okay. And I know I've called myself a disruptor before, and I know it's maybe easy for me to sit here and say, oh, easy for you to say, oh, you have orders coming in and you've got people that help you and all that. I've been where you're at and I'm here. And the reason I'm here is because I was where you're at for way too long, for way too long. So in the sense of learn from me. And so when I say, ask for help, I genuinely mean it because I did not ask for help for a long, long time. But not to get off on a tangent here, but too much competition. Yes, competition exists. There's no doubt. But as I've said it before, there is so much opportunity for not only customization, but personalization, and not just for your cookies, but for you and your service and your business. And so as I talk about, less is more, finding your unique offering, creating visibility, that's all going to be your responsibility, to be able to be competitive. But don't worry if there's someone locally that's next to you doing cookies, because there is plenty of business to go around. There really is. I mean, we're in a wonderful industry, because it is delicious, of course, but it's a consumable. So a consumable meaning that people will reorder. They will reorder. And so it's not just a one and done. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's going to be important. If you do have some local competition, and I think we've talked about this before, but don't necessarily do what they're doing. Or if you are going to be doing what they're doing, do it a little bit differently or do a little bit better. So, I know one time we talked about, is it right to go scope out other bakeries? Absolutely. I say gather as much information as you can. Do your market research, go in and shop around. It's just as if you were online looking at other people's websites, you're information gathering, you're finding out what you like, maybe what you don't like. And it's a competitive world out there. And, you need to know what's out there in order for you to be able to offer a service that's going to be the best possible for your clients. So find an area that someone's not doing, or offering it a different way. So, an example of that would be, like our cookie decorating kits. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of cookie decorating kits out there. There are a lot of people doing virtual experiences, but what makes it unique for us is that the size of our kits is very unique, because I find that a lot of companies are either very much smaller or they're larger, or they have to either make the frosting or they need to bake the cookies, where ours is really just out of box ready and then paired with our virtual experiences. So it's a little unique in that case. So, and of course our shapes and themes are too. So how do you guys feel about the too much competition? Do you feel like you have too much competition in your area?
I think I have a different take on it. If there is a lot of competition, I've always held the belief that no two bakers bake exactly alike. So I can give all of you the recipe that I use, but it's not always going to be the same because we all do something different. And
Exactly.
I think that you're really going for, I just don't think that if there's something different and something special about each one that their customers like.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend once told me, she says, I had made something and she said, you tell your daughter that it was delicious and everybody's taste buds are not the same.
Mm.
Just because it's good to me does not mean it's going to be good to someone else. So I kind of keep that in the back of my head while baking.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, somebody recently posted, and I think I commented on it, and I was the only one out of all the comments. It was something to do where she has a recipe, and I don't know, maybe Sue, you saw this, because I know we're in some of the similar groups, but it was someone who posted that she said a few people, she didn't specify how many, said that her cookies weren't sweet enough. Did you see that post?
I've
So
seen, if not that one, I've seen similar ones.
yeah, it was really interesting because everybody that was just like on autopilot, and maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but for me, I was like, okay, wait a second. Of course, I didn't have all the information, as I always say, but when she said comments, I really was curious to know how many people, like really, realistically, how many people, if it was one, two, or three, that doesn't mean I'm going to change my recipe. Because if the masses, if the majority of people love your cookies, and only a few people said, hey, can you make it sweeter? Because her question was, how do I make them sweeter? And I was the only one that said, wait, wait, don't change your recipe, because you might
Right.
change your recipe and all of a sudden your loyal customers, the people that love your cookies, all of a sudden they're too sweet. So now what have you done? You've accommodated 3 people, but now the rest of your followers are like, what did she do to her recipe? It tastes so different. So, you know, I was really a bit more the caution to the wind there. Don't be like a knee-jerk reaction to change something that you believe in, first of all, just because a few people. It's like you said before, Levita, maybe they're just not your clients. And so stay true to that. So
Yeah, I mean, my take on that was that some people are just not familiar with custom decorated cookies. And most of the recipes, you have to keep a certain ratio of sugar to everything else, or they're going to spread and they're not going to behave and be, you know, able to be rolled out and cut out. So if people are used to like really sweet, like drop cookies, and then they taste one of yours, well, it's just not going to be as sweet. It's just, I tell people it's more along the lines of shortbread. If you like shortbread, then you'll love those. And of course the icing is all sugar, but I think it's just people's expectations. They just don't realize that by nature, they're just not going to be as sweet as an Oreo cookie or any other kind of commercial cookie.
yeah.
When I hear that, I think about, because there's this bakery who's kind of in my area, and she specializes in cupcakes, and I absolutely 100% do not like her crust. I really don't. And I've read through her forums, and a lot of her customers love it, and there's some who don't. They speak out, they don't like it, you need to change it, blah blah blah. And she stood firm, but she's culinary trained, so she has that confidence, and she's been on TV network. So I mean, I absolutely do not like her frosting, but I mean, who am I? You know, and it's just like you have Popeye's chicken and you have KFC. You have all these different chicken places. Everyone has different tastes. So therefore, it kind of goes along with what you were saying, Annette, is that there's enough customers out there for each of us. If we stand true to what we make, and you know, we can stand behind our recipe, then that's all that really matters. You know, but it's trying to get that confidence in being able to stand behind what you represent and
Yeah.
stuff. So,
And I had to do that recently with a gal that actually came to my house, or my bakery. And I don't do a lot of in-person, but she happened to be here on the weekend for a bridal shower, and she was ordering cookies for the wedding. And I gave her some samples, and you know, she wouldn't want to she didn't eat them when we were here, but she kept talking about the cookies. I really want them to be super soft, super soft. And I said, well, here are my cookies. You can, you know, go ahead and try them. And so she basically took one and broke it in half. And I thought, okay, that's fine. She just destroyed the cookie without even tasting it. But anyway, but she asked me if I could make them super soft. And I very confidently, assertively, professionally said, these are how I make our cookies. Like, I'm not going to risk. There's a reason why there are certain bake, because, you know, they're not overbaked, they're not underbaked, but to me, they're perfect. I've never gotten a complaint. I know that they're going to be sturdy. I know they're not going to, you know, they're not going to break. They're not brittle. You're not going to get all this extra crumbs. And so I wasn't going to make them super, super soft because first of all, I don't know what she means by super, super soft. It's like, unless you're going to sit here with me and help me bake, I don't want to make an assumption on what I think you think super, super soft is. And again, I don't want to compromise my recipe. So, and she's fine with it. I said, this is just my cookie. And if you prefer a softer cookie, perhaps, you may want to look at other bakers, but this is how I bake our cookies. They have a light brown on the bottom. They're soft to the bite. They're a little crispy on the edge, but they're delicious. And yeah, so she was fine with it. But anyway, yeah, you just have to kind of, be careful not to, agree to something. And then later on, you're like, why did I do that? And believe me, I've done that. Why did I agree to make gluten dairy-free cookies and ship them? Oh my gosh, they broke. Well, yeah, because there's nothing in that recipe that was holding those cookies together and they all crumbled. So do I do dairy-free, gluten-free cookies anymore? Nope. Or I should say, do I ship them? No. And I actually don't even get into that anymore.
I know.
Okay.
I see posts where my client wants a pumpkin spice cookie. My client wants a margarita lime cookie. What do I do? And I was like, say no.
Thank you. Say no. That was another question that came up recently about all of the flavors that someone, what do you do when someone asks for this and this and this same kind of thing? It's like, do you do those flavors? Have you ever done those flavors? I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would you accept an order for 24, 36 cookies on a flavor you've never made before? Because you're taking a risk, you haven't tested it. It's going to take more time. You're probably going to stress about it. Just stick with what you know. And, part of the thing is, I'll say one more thing and move on to number 4 here is, sometimes people ask for things. Doesn't necessarily mean that they really want them. They're kind of just information gathering and just seeing that if you can do it. Usually what you offer is typically what they're going to accept. So anyway, okay, moving on. We are at number 4. We got 10. Don't worry. I promise you we'll get through all 10. I promise you. Some of these are not as long as others. Okay. So number 4, a myth buster here, expensive ingredients. Okay. I bring this up because I think that, there definitely costs to the ingredients for this industry and what we're doing with our custom cookies. There are strategies, of course, that you can do to bring those costs down. But the beauty and the way I want to bust this myth is that you really only need to buy what you need, which is really nice. It's not a huge investment in the sense that you need to buy a ton of ingredients. So it's kind of like a no risk in the sense that you can buy as you need, and it's not outside of your equipment and your supplies. Really, the cost of the ingredients, as long as you're not buying too much at one time, it's not going to go bad. You know what I mean? And the profit margin is pretty good if you're pricing accordingly. And again, if you are reining in the number of designs, the technique that you're doing, the minimum quantity that you're setting, so all those variables, if they're all kind of set realistically, I truly believe that the idea of having expensive ingredients is, I just want to debunk that because, so I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I agree. When I first costed out a dozen cookies, what the cost was, even with packaging and labels and all that, I was really surprised that it was like way under $10 to do a dozen cookies. Like I said, with everything, bows, wrapping, labels, ingredients, of course, not counting, other things like, insurance and all that other overhead, but the cost to do a dozen cookies was like $7. And I'm like, wow, that's not really bad at all. Even though everything's been going up and people complain about, when eggs skyrocketed, and it's like, but my recipe calls for 2 eggs and I can get like sometimes 5 dozen cookies. So it still wasn't a huge hit.
Right.
But that was a myth that I thought was, I was really going to have to the ingredients were going to kill me if I wasn't really careful, and it's not that bad.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we can talk in another class, but you can get really creative with the pricing. And I know I did a whole class, more than one class on pricing, how having starting prices for different presentations is a smart move, because you can base it on the variables of your event, or a variable of the order, like quantity design, size, complexity design, packaging, and of course, delivery. But sometimes it's just the presentation. Okay. So packaging, I know I'm still due to do a packaging and presentation class, but for the same cost of ingredients, packaging them a little bit differently can drastically increase your sales and your profit margin. So I'll give you a quick example, not to get too deep into packaging, but I have gift box presentations, and our smallest packaging is a pillow box. Okay, so follow me here. 2 cookies in a pillow box. A pillow box is kind of like a, I don't know, an oval shaped box that folds on both sides, if you're not familiar with them. And in fact, we just shipped out 7. It was a small order, 7 pillow boxes being shipped to one location, 2 cookies in each box. I charge $22.50 a box, not including shipping. Okay. When I do a favor bag, 2 cookies, well, a single favor bag starts at $5. So do you see where I'm going here? 1 cookie is $5 with a bag and a ribbon and a card, but I don't ship a single cookie. Okay. Just follow me here. I do not ship single cookies. My minimum presentation that I will ship is a pillow box of 2 cookies, and it's $22.50 each plus shipping, because it's not worth my time. And it's kind of, I don't know, to me, it's like a person opens up a box and they get a 1 cookie. It just looks kind of strange. For me, I want that, ooh, that presentation. So now when they open the box, yeah, they're only getting 2 cookies, but it's in this white pillow box with a branded sticker on it, with a card insert, with our branding information. And now it looks like this gift. So they're paying a lot more for that presentation, even though it's only 2 cookies.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So, and then our next gift box up is 4 cookies, follow me, in a cardboard box, a nice one, don't get me wrong, a flip top box, 4 cookies, a ribbon, and a tag. How much do I charge for that, do you think?
45.
$39 plus shipping. So, and again, and then we have, it goes on from there. So again, I don't want to go too deep into packaging, but you have to, it's a different mindset of, don't think about, oh my gosh, nobody's going to pay for how much per cookie. Like I always talk about that in other classes, like, don't think price per cookie, think price per presentation.
Mm.
So, because that company that asked for those pillow boxes, they're looking for a gift for an employee appreciation. So $22.50 per person plus the shipping. And it was bulk shipped too. So they didn't even pay like a certain amount per box. It was just, I think it was like $39 to ship or something like that. And, but to them, they're like $22.50. That's a steal. I mean, try to find a cookie box or a candy box or a bouquet of flowers or something that you can find online for $22.50. You really can't. But here's the thing. It's a low price item, but it was super easy for us to make. I mean, it was 21 cookies. So let's just for fun. So $22.50 times 7. It's $157 for 21 cookies, 7 boxes. Okay. I just want you guys to think a little differently. Price presentation. It's, so.
I agree. One of my goals is reaching out to realtors for appreciation gifts, because a lot of people I've read a lot of people in my area do that. And Amazon has these cute little boxes. They're bakery boxes, but they're shaped like a house with little windows. And
cool.
They're comparatively expensive. Like a bakery box might be 90 cents. These are like $2.34, but they're so cool that, it's like, well, how can they resist? They're shaped like a house. They're so cute.
And that actually would be really, and see, you would compete with me in a good way. I do realtor boxes, but they're in a white box with a clear view top. If we were side by side and you had that house box, who do you think you're going to go for? If I were a realtor, I'd go with your box, because that is super cool. So again, and that to a realtor is going to be like, oh my God, they would love that. They would love that, because it is, that's going to make them the hero. I mean, honestly. So yeah, I would pick up a couple of those boxes and the realtors, they just they're selling houses, and it is like the most intimate thing that you can sell is at someone's home, like sell or buy someone's home. And I was reading an article on LinkedIn, not to get too far up on a tangent, but it is like one of the most intimate things that a realtor, that relationship with the realtor and the homeowner or the buyer, and that their appreciation gifts are so important. And that, and so I have a couple of realtors, and I'm not shy to tell them that. I'm like, because they're like, oh, a bottle of wine. This one gal said she left 2 bottles of wine, but found out that one of the spouse had an issue with alcohol. She's like, it was so embarrassing. It was horrible. So she said, I can't do liquor at all, because it's just one of those things that it used to be a good thing. Now it's like a no almost. So, they're really looking for personal gifts. So yeah, you could have a cookie business just for realtors if you really wanted to, because there are a lot of them out there. And right now it's a tough business right now, but man, when the houses are going and they're going quick, and they need to do something extra special, because the buying and the selling is even more difficult. These realtors are competing big time with each other. So,
Right.
And not to hold you up, but how many cookies do you put in a realtor gift box? How many do they use?
I have one that is, well, I have a box of 4. I can 12, or I do a platter. If it's going to be a larger family, I have a platter of 24. So, yeah, I was just trying to see if I could find you it's a really cute box. And I have one realtor that I work with in particular. And so now we just have a set, which makes it really nice. She just gives me the name of the family, the address. We have a set design. There's 4 cookies. There's a welcome mat, a house. What else is in there? Oh my gosh, I can't even think of what's in there. But anyway, so now all I do is I do the same designs. They're with her brand colors, and I just personalize them. I don't want to take too much time to find it, but I know I posted it. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'll pull it up to screen so you can see it. So there's a front door,
yeah.
a home sweet home, a house, and a welcome mat. So there's actually 12 cookies in this box. And this box is $65. So she's $65 for the 12 cookies, which is very generous. But like I said, she's a repeat. She orders a couple a month, and yeah, and she's been great. She's posted on Instagram. She's tagged me a bunch of times. So it's a nice relationship.
Yeah, one of my goals.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on here. I'll pick up the pace a little bit. Number 5. So I think there's a myth out there that, okay, to be in the cookie decorating business, to have a thriving business, that you need to be like this highly skilled decorator. I want to blow that out of the water big time. Because yes, there is some amount of skill, definitely. But as I will say it again, when you get started, and I mean, I still decorate personally, of course, but I don't do as much decorating as I used to. And I've strategically pulled back on some of the designs, even though I've got 2 really good decorators. But they've also been working with me for a long time. And my sister, who helps, is retired. And she's like, I just want to come in, do my work, and leave. And then I have another gal who, as I talk about, is a really good decorator. She really enjoys the hand frosted. So that's kind of her thing now. But where I'm going with this is that, it's you don't have to learn every technique. You don't have to be amazing at hand painting. You don't need to master airbrushing. Again, you need to just like pick 1 or 2 techniques and just get really good at them, and just make sure you're using really high quality ingredients, and that, it's a nice presentation and it's professional looking, because there's all sorts of skill levels out there. So, and I will say it before, simple is sweet. I would say, develop your own personal style, look and feel. If you do get pictures from people, use that for inspiration, but try to put your own flair on it. And if you look closely at my Facebook page for Edible Impressions, go to the photo albums and scroll back years ago. I mean, I've never taken off pictures. So there's some from when I first started, and you will see a change in the cookies. You will see the designs are getting more simple. Not that I don't want to do more elegant or detailed designs, but now I'm doing my cookies as a business. So I did have to pull back a little bit. Now, when you see me do some of the fancy, like I just did a really cute baby, a first-year birthday party. It was actually for a friend of mine. So I went a little bit all out on that one. But for my paid orders, my designs are actually pretty simple. But again, they're professional, they're sweet, they're delicious, they look good in the packaging. So I think, that dependency on having this high skill level, I don't think is like absolutely required to have a thriving cookie business. A lot of it is going to be how you are presenting yourself, and it all comes down to marketing. It really does. Yeah. So, I mean, in my experience, at least I know my clients are, more importantly, yes, it's presentation and of course it's the design because they're looking for custom design, but I think taste, the presentation and the service is really what they're expecting to be the highest level. If they had to rank them, without even doing a survey, I can tell you that my clients are going to be mostly interested in a top, responsive service and, excellent, a good tasting cookie. So. All right, I'm going to keep going with the next one. Inconsistent income. So there's a little bit of overlap perhaps on some of these, but I think that is a misconception that it is unpredictable. And yes, we are still dealing with COVID. I think we are going to be dealing with the, repercussions of that for a little bit of time still, but, just keep moving forward. But I think that it's possible to have more consistency again when you are being kind of strategic in who you want to work with. So my time, and I don't even have my notebook close here, but I have a notebook every day. I jot down, I've got my calendar of to-dos, my daily, weekly, monthly, all that good stuff. But on top of that, I'm jotting down 3 things that I will do, no matter if I don't get anything else done. I'm doing 3 things. One that's going to move my team, going to help my team. One that's going to move my business forward. And I've just kind of changed that third one. The third one's more for me. Am I rewarding myself for a job well done? So those are my 3 things that I try to cross up every day. But, I think to develop that consistent income is going to come with taking action and being strategic and planning ahead and making a point of making your routine of reaching out to customers and potential customers. So it's very easy to get into that. Oh, I'm being productive. I'm very busy. We've all heard that. I'm very busy, but are you actually producing anything? Or are you just being busy? So, I challenge you to look at your to-do list and say, okay, what are the things that's just keeping me busy, but it's not really moving my business forward? So, yeah. Yeah, and your loyal customers, you just need a small group, honestly, and whether they repeat order from you or whether they just become your referral source, don't ever take that for granted and just stay in contact with them, like I said before. So, yeah, and sometimes it might be if you are feeling there's a little inconsistency in the business, is like we talked about, pivoting. Try something different. If you feel like what you're doing is not getting any traction, don't give it up 100%, but just shift over and just try something different. You never know. Okay, number 7, similar to the cost of ingredients, high startup costs. Again, I think there's a somewhat of a low investment to get started. I think here I would just say, when I first started, I had very basic equipment. I was working out of my kitchen, and my bakery space is relatively small. I have, the pieces of equipment that I need. I don't have over the top equipment. I don't have the most expensive. I don't have the least expensive, but I have reliable equipment, and I take good care of it. So I think that, it's a myth to think that you have to have this very expensive startup costs, because the wonderful part is that you can work out of your home kitchen. Which is great. You can choose to be under the food cottage laws. You can choose to have a residential bakery like I have, but that's under the food processing license, or more of your startup costs, if you wanted to go right to a production space, certainly is going to be the most expensive. But don't feel like you need to invest in every single tool right away. So really, you can you can keep those costs down if you just, you know, I'm a little worried. In 2 weeks, my sister and I are headed to New Jersey for the cake and cookie show. And like I said, I haven't gone to CookieCon for the exact reason of not wanting to come home with a bag of stuff I really don't need. And stay tuned. I'm going to do Rapid Fire Friday live at the show. So
Oh, cool.
the Jersey Shore. And I'll give you guys a sneak preview. So I'll probably come on live on Saturday. We're going to be helping with Michelle Ingalls, Sugar Prism. I think I mentioned before, but I'm going to be helping with her booth while she's teaching. So we'll do some fun lives while we're there, and it'll be entertaining. I've never been there. So, okay. So that is the last couple here real quick. I want to be very careful of time here, but, oh, so really quick, limited market reach. You know, again, that I think that you can't reach a broader market. Again, it comes down to you. You know, I talked about in the past masterclass, food cottage law, as I just mentioned, really, you know, what do you want to do with your business? How far do you want it to go? I mean, I made the decision not to open a storefront. I made the decision not to sell wholesale. I made the decision as the CEO to not to expand to a bigger production space. But could I have done any of these? Yes, I could have. So, you know, I don't want you to feel like you're limited. You can take it as far as you want. I mean, the glass ceiling can be broken. So I'll just say a little bit on that, because I want to make sure we get to all 10. Oh, here's my favorite one. Not a real business. Oh, it's not a real business. Yeah, I beg to differ, because you've heard my story before, but after 24 years of events coordination at the university, I did the microphone drop. And I think that if I had $1 for every time I saw a eyebrow curl, or I got the crazy look like, what are you doing? You're leaving? I mean, I won't be shy with my benefit package. I mean, I was over, you know, 100K with my benefits. I left. But at the time when I left, I was matching that plus. And so it was kind of a low risk leaving, but people were like, they're scratching their head. And I didn't really feel like I needed to explain to them my life journey. But so I beg to differ that it's not a real business. I think the important thing to think about here is that there is a big difference from being a hobbyist to being a business owner. So it can be a little painful. I know not everybody's going to make it to take that leap. You may not enjoy it. It may not be your thing, but if you are serious about putting on that business hat, stick with me. I'll get you there. So yeah, and you're not saying goodbye 100% to all of your hobby, things that you love about your hobby. You just need to separate them. So like I've said it before, I love hand painting cookies. I love Sugar Prism. I found a use to use the products with airbrushing because it's faster, it's efficient. But am I going to hand paint 200 cookies? No, I'm not, because it's not profitable for my business. But do I love it as a hobby? Absolutely. So it's making those decisions. And like I said, it's really going to be up to you if you've got the time, the dedication, the passion. But it's exciting because, I mean, whatever your goals are, whatever your reasons are, whether it's just to make some extra money or you want to, you know, leave that part-time or full-time job, it is possible. So I'm here to be proof that it is very possible. And then finally, number 10, oh my gosh, we've made it. Number 10 is unpredictable demand. So again, this overlaps a little bit. But again, I think I talked earlier about that example of the trade show versus the virtual experiences. And, you know, there might be some unpredictability at the start, but I think, you know, as you become more in tune to what you're offering and what your clients need and want, and it might take a year or two just to kind of get your rhythm, but I would encourage you just to try it. Like I said before, you know, and again, it's your decision. Do you want to be busy year round? So, you know, that's just some of the things that I always think about is just like, I'm looking forward to the holiday, but I'm kind of like, oh, the holidays are coming. It's really tiring. I mean, we're all in, but again, self-inflicted, so don't feel sorry for me. But that's really, you know, I think that you can kind of fill in that unpredictability by doing some planning and just that continuous reach out. So yeah, that was a lot. So that was just the 10 that came to my mind. So I don't know if anyone has thought of any other myths that they want to bust, or maybe you don't agree with me on some of these, which is totally fine.
I have one that I think it's a myth. It's an old mentality that people are holding on to. Maybe that's different, but so this week I had a customer reach out. They wanted logo cookies and drop cookies for an event, and she's hosting it at some fancy golf resort. And they gave her pushback because I'm not licensed, and so I kind of had to go through that. And I just took a moment, and I didn't want to react to her. I took a moment to breathe and just kind of gather my documents, my, cottage food license, my insurance, all that jazz. And I just, explained to her that the state of Minnesota does not require me to be licensed. They recognize me as a business, that I'm able to work out of my home through this law. And this is what I operate under, and I'm insured, and blah, blah, blah. And I was approved. So, which, yeah, I'm totally ecstatic about that. It really opens a lot of doors. But I was explaining to my husband, as I was just kind of processing it, that a lot of venues out there, they have these, I mean, it's 2015 is when cottage food law came into my state. It was relatively new. And so a lot of people are holding on to these old mentalities, these old ways of the way things were being done. And they just need to be educated. And it was her venue. She definitely could have told me no, but she listened. And I think because I took that breather and I came back at it, professionally, and it just kind of explaining what the situation was, I was able to get through that. So that was a huge victory for me.
Right. That's fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now, what are you going to do with that information?
I got a lot of wedding venues around here that I might have to go visit.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm kind of excited about maybe rolling out is, I think I mentioned before, but is like my template bundles. So like when situations like that come up, and now you've gone through the motions and you've had a conversation about something that was a wonderment or a question. So now I would formalize that. I would develop verbiage for that, so that now you can be proactive, so that if you ever do it in conversation with a client who's renting a space, or if you're working with the venue right away, you're informing them before they even ask. So it never gets to the point where you were at, which was kind of stressful probably. So now you're being proactive. You're right away letting them know, this is who you're working with. I'm a professional, insured baker, whatever. And you may be doing that already, but I just want to throw that in case others are watching. That's a great strategy. Whenever you get into these situations where you feel like you're resolving something, that right there is the opportunity to create a workflow. If nothing else, document it. What did you say? How did it go? And then if you ever have to come back and do it again, you're not starting from scratch. And the most important thing is you're being consistent. You're being consistent, and you're going to save yourself a whole lot of time. And believe me, I probably have 35, 40 templates, because I don't have time to, and more importantly, I just want to be consistent. So
yeah, no, that's
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, now that you're in with that venue, you should, let them have, give them some extra cards and say, hey, I would love to be, now that you are familiar with my work, you've seen it, you've tasted it, I'm insured, I'm legit, whatever, however you want to state that, but try to get in as their go-to, so that they're now referring people to you. Yeah. Exactly. Make them a little thank you box, handwritten notes.
I like that. It's kind of funny because it's actually intertwined. So I'm doing an expo, a women's symposium expo, a lot of women leaders in November, which I've talked about in the group. And but this is being held at that same place. Perfect. So, but it's different people. That's the Chambers of Commerce. This is them, and they have so many. It's an upscale venue place, and so it's definitely opened a lot of doors. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I would just make sure everybody in that facility knows. So, if the person you're working with, or that conversation with is not, ask them and say, just, is there someone else I should be working with, or someone else that I should keep updated, because maybe they're not the right, the person, but because you never know, you might all of a sudden get down to the catering director, and then, that's another opportunity too, is to get on their menu. So many
Exactly.
opportunities. Yeah. So,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a really good reminder too. I do not have insurance yet. It's not required in my state, but makes me think before I reach out to universities and some of these places, that might be the first question they ask. And I do have to go get that so I can be proactive. And when I pitch my whatever to whomever, I can include the word insured. I just haven't bothered yet. It's not required, but I should have it.
It's
Yeah.
not required here, but an outdoor venue that I had required it. And
Yeah.
I went through food insurance. I actually would recommend them. You can get it
Oh, really?
10 minutes online. Yeah, it's maybe $300 a year to something. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I think it's pretty good. It's
I
what they
have-
do. If they work
Yeah.
with Scottish food law.
I have to do that. There's a local farmers market that, my one of my last clients recommended, and I went to look at the application, and one of the first things is you need insurance. You can't even do a farmers market here in town without the insurance, which
Yeah.
it makes sense. I mean, they're just protecting themselves and stuff. So yeah, I got to do that. It was just, talking about startup costs, back to Annette's thing about startup costs. It's like, that's a big one. But now, do you renew that every year? Is that like an annual premium for Flip? Yeah.
Annual. Yep. Yeah, it's annual. But that's the thing though, is too, is I was in the same mentality where I never had it. I didn't want it because I was like, oh, whatever, I'm fine. I have my house insurance and stuff. I have a pretty big umbrella on my home insurance, but this kind of pushed me and it gave me that extra leverage in this
Yeah.
negotiating. You know what I mean? So had I not had it, granted, I'm still legal here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
However, this just lets them know they're not I'm taking all the liability, on
Exactly.
it. You don't have to worry about it as a venue. I'm gonna be that responsible company to work with. And I think that kind of calmed their fears a little bit. So I think it was a really good move for me this year.
Yeah, it's just very professional. And back to Annette's comment about not being like just a hobby or a real business. If you have insurance, that conveys that you take it serious, and you want other people to take it serious. So I'll do that tonight. I'll put that on my to-do list for tonight.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And as always, if you have questions or want to go deeper, you can always reach out to me. And yeah, so I will be on tomorrow night, actually. So tomorrow at 6:30, if anyone's interested, I've got the monthly Thursday coaching call, and then I will be on, of course, Friday. And what are you guys in the mood for next Wednesday? Actually, next Wednesday, I will be traveling. Oh my, I will be traveling actually next Wednesday. So maybe I will just come on live in the Facebook group next Wednesday. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be in New York for just a day. I'm meeting my son there who's traveling for work. And then my sister and I are going to then drive down to the Jersey Shore. So it's going to be quite comical. So
Road trip.
for some funny Facebook posts. But yeah, now that I think about that, that is next week already. So, but in terms of decorating, what's the next kind of decorating you guys want to do? Decorating themed masterclass.
Decorating.
Burning on your list? You want me to talk about or demonstrate for the next one? You guys get first dibs since you're on live.
Think about that.
You said you're working on your Halloween samples, right? Sue, you are working on your Halloween.
Yeah.
How about you, Levita? Are you doing anything like that for like offering any holiday samples coming up soon?
You're talking to me?
No, is Levita still on?
Oh.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm sorry. You
you're
keep
fine.
breaking up.
Oh, my internet's really been bad. Are you doing anything for Halloween, like making any samples or anything?
No, because I'm still waiting for the Department of Agriculture, and I don't want to get into any kind of trouble. I can be a home-based place, but I don't want to risk it right now. It's too close, and I'm not doing anything. I don't want to give them a reason to say no.
Exactly. The reason I was asking, Annette, is I was just thinking if you're traveling, maybe we could kind of make it more like a group thing where we just kind of talk through that process of what are we offering? Why do we choose that? What works in our pricing, packaging, kind of just powwow in that sense.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I
that
don't-
sounds good.
Yeah, and maybe discuss like pre-sales, because with the holidays coming up, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, that's when a lot of people do pre-sales, and
Mhm.
strategies for that might be interesting, and see what
Yeah.
people are.
Sounds good. All right. Duly noted. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great
Yeah,
trip.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Spend
Appreciate
lots of
that.
money at CookieCon.
I know, yeah, yeah. It'll be good. It'll be good. But I will be honest and upfront with you. But yeah, I will see if there's something new out there that we're not all using. So be interesting to see what's out there. So actually, I'm in
Cool.
search of some edible markers. I want to test out some different edible markers. I like the
What
Wilton
brand do you use now?
I use Wilton brand, which I do like, the food writer, but I'd like to
Okay.
find a set that's very fine. I like to hand paint with my very tiny paintbrush, but I've seen
Oh gosh,
folks
I
use
can't
the really
remember the
fine
name
tip.
of it. Color
Everybody-
something.
Yeah, everybody online seems to recommend Tweets. That's their
Oh,
favorite.
tweet.
I don't have
Tweets is
one,
good.
but I have a few others that I like. But everyone keeps coming back to this Tweets. So
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. So I kind of almost like to try them. So I'm hoping that they'll have some samples
Yeah.
out there. Just for that fine detail, but
I did order some on Amazon too that are dual tips. They're like tweets in that sense where they're super fine,
Hmm.
like a felt tip marker on one side, and then kind of like a big brush on the other side.
Mhm.
Those work pretty well too. I have them both.
Nice. Cool. All right. We will see you all soon. Have a good night.
thank
All
you.
right, safe
too.
travels.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.